Please turn your Bibles to the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 9. As I mentioned during our prayer time tonight, this is the first day of July, and this is our first service for the month of July, and this is also our first service for the third quarter. And we just finished our theme for the month of June, that is, experience God's great grace to speak kindly. And I want to thank all the preachers that preached during the last 3 quarters, all the teachers. And we heard, I think, 4 messages, particularly about our words, our tongue, and how powerfully were we reminded of this matter. The lesson that was taught by Brother Alex, followed by the lesson that was, or the message that was preached by Brother Ray, and then the last 2 Fridays. And again, we praise God for the messages. And our theme for this month is experience God's great grace to be gracious. I actually have a message I gave Brother Iboy, but as I was thinking about our theme, I came up with a different message, and I hope that this will be a blessing. The title of the message is Sharing God's Kindness. Not just showing, but sharing God's kindness. Turn to 2 Samuel chapter 9, beginning with verse number 1 down to verse number 13. But let me just read verses 1 down to verse number 3, 2 Samuel chapter 9. And David said, "Is there yet any that is left of the house of Saul?" Saul is the first king of Israel, and he was followed by David. "That I may show him kindness for Jonathan's sake. And there was of the house of Saul a servant whose name was Ziba. And when they had called him unto David, the king said unto him, Art thou Ziba? And he said, Thy servant is he. And the king said, Is there not yet any of the house of Saul, that I may shew the kindness of God unto him? And Ziba said unto the king, Jonathan hath yet a son, which is lame on his feet. Let me jump to verse number 7. David said unto him, Fear not, I will surely show thee kindness. 3 times in this passage of the scripture, we find those words related to kindness. Verse number 1, he said that I may show him kindness. Verse number 3, the Bible says that I may show the kindness of God unto him. And verse number 7, for I will show thee kindness. Now, in the Old Testament, kindness refers to God's long-suffering love. I studied the Hebrew word for both gracious and the word kindness in the Old Testament. Now, this is God's determination to keep His promises to His people in spite of their sin and rebellion. In the New Testament, the Greek word translated grace best represents the idea of God's kindness. So when we talk about kindness and grace, they are actually very, very, very similar. Because God has been gracious to us, we should treat others with grace as well. And that is what we find, that is what we see, that is the theme in this chapter that we read tonight. I want to show you 3 things. Number 1 is, I just divided the message into 3 parts, and then we have some lessons which are italicized in your handout. Simple truths that we can learn. First is finding Mephibosheth. It's not finding Nemo, okay? It's finding Mephibosheth. We already read verses 1 down to verse number 3. Let me read verse number 4. And the king said unto him, What is he? And Ziba said unto the king, Behold, he is in the house of Machir, the son of Amiel, in Lodebar. So here we learn that David was looking for a family member in the family of Saul and Jonathan. And so somebody mentioned to him that there is Jonathan had a son and he is still alive, and he was lame, and he is in Lodebar in the house of Machir. Now, letter A in your notes is the plight of Mephibosheth. The plight. Anong nangyari sa kay Mephibosheth? We learn from this passage of the scripture, the Bible tells us here that Mephibosheth was lame. Verse number 3. Jonathan hath yet a son which is lame on his feet. Also in verse number 13. So Mephibosheth dwelt in Jerusalem, for he did eat continually at the king's table, and was lame on both his feet. So, yung dalawang paa niya talagang hindi siya nakakataya. Maybe you will ask the question, what happened to him? Well, let's go back to chapter 4 of 2 Samuel para makita natin yung ano nangyari dito. 2 Samuel chapter 4 and verse number 4. And Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son that was lame on his feet. He was 5 years old when the tidings came of Saul and Jonathan out of Jezreel. May ano rito merong mga yung away-away, may gera-gera. So, the Bible tells us that Mephibosheth was 5 years old when the tidings came of Saul and Jonathan out of Israel. And his nurse took him up. Nagmamadali sila. Kinuha ng kanyang yaya, si Mephibosheth, and took him up and fled. And it came to pass as she made haste sa sobrang pagmamadali to flee, that he fell. Nahulog itong si Mephibosheth and became lame. The Bible tells us, and his name was Mephibosheth. So he was lame. Mahirap po na kalagayan nito. It's very difficult. Now, when you are lame, mobility, and so it's just hard. But you know, there is something we can learn here. Sometimes our painful experiences or our problems they could be blessings in disguise. Amen? Yung mga pinagdadaanan natin ng mga problema, minsan, actually they are blessings. He is the lone survivor dun sa family nila. Okay? We see that the Lord preserved his life. Romans 8:28, the Bible tells us, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, even to them who are the called according to his purpose. Blessings in disguise. Sometimes we do not understand what God is doing in our life. I'm sure Brother Ian is having a hard time trying to process or trying to understand why do my wife but siya nagkaroon ng cancer. But again, yung mga painful experiences natin, we can think of so many examples in the Bible. For example, the example of Joseph, how he was hated by his brothers, how he was sold into Egypt, how he was in prison. But all those things, God was doing something in his life. He later, we all know the story, he later became the Prime Minister of Egypt. And God used his life greatly. So that was the plight of Mephibosheth. Letter B is the purpose of David. Why did David try to look for Mephibosheth? What was his motive in finding Mephibosheth? We learn from the story that David's motive in seeking for Mephibosheth was not his sight
was a satellite. Hindi dahil gusto niyang makatulong kay Mephibosheth dahil kawawa siya. That's not the reason why he sought for Mephibosheth. It's not because he felt sorry for Mephibosheth. He was actually doing this. His purpose, his motive was for his friend's sake. Tingnan niyo doon sa verse number 7, David said unto him, Fear not, for I will shew thee kindness for Jonathan thy father's sake. Alam niyo ba na si David at saka si Jonathan, they were very good friends. They were the best of friends. Talagang they are just so close. You know, Jonathan tried to protect David from the evil intention of his father. And so David was showing kindness, sharing kindness to Mephibosheth, not because he felt sorry for Mephibosheth, but because he was honoring a covenant with his friend. Alam niyo, when we share kindness, it's not necessarily because of the person that we're helping. When we share kindness, we do it for the sake of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. We do it to honor the command of the Lord Jesus Christ. Kasi yun naman ang kabilin-bilinan ng ating Panginoon. As ye have therefore opportunity, the Lord said, let us do good unto all men, especially to them who are of the household of faith. In fact, since I was preparing the lessons for the different classes that we have this quarter, I was going through the book of 2 Corinthians again, chapter 8 and chapter 9. And in verse 13 of chapter 9, look at that, 2 Corinthians 9:13. Once by the experiment of this ministration, it's talking about the giving, they glorify God for your professed subjection unto the gospel of Christ, for your liberal distribution unto them and unto all men. Do you see that? So the church in Macedonia, Paul was writing to the church in Corinth, and he was using the example of the church in Macedonia. The Christians in Macedonia, they were supporting, they were helping, not just the churches, but they were helping others who were in need. So that was the purpose of David. It was to honor the covenant of a friend. How much more should we show kindness to obey the command of our Savior? Amen? Kaya pag may tinutulungan tayo, pag may mga nangangailangan, if there is a need, when we show kindness, it's not necessarily because of who the person is. Kasama natin sa church, tulungan natin yan. Yes, that's a good reason. What about kung hindi pa na natin kasama sa church? See, he was doing this to honor the covenant of a friend. Meron silang covenant ng kanyang kaibigan. And we do this to honor the command of our Savior. We can show kindness to anyone if we will do it for the sake of the Lord Jesus Christ. If you will do this for that person, mayroon gawin yan eh. Especially if you don't know the person. Your reason is, why should I help the person? Why should I care for the person? I don't know him. Why should I care for this person? He did this to me before. It's hard. Medyo mahirap. But you know, if you do what you do, if you share kindness for the sake of the Lord Jesus Christ, you will find it's very easy to do it. Because you're not doing it necessarily for a person. You are doing it for the Lord. You want to honor the Lord. You want to honor the command of our Savior. So that's what we see here. And second, not only the finding of Mephibosheth, but the fencing of Mephibosheth. The fencing of Mephibosheth. When David learned about Mephibosheth, he sent somebody to fetch him. Look at verse number 5, down to verse number 8. Then King David sent and fetched him out of the house of Machir, the son of Amiel, from Lodebar. Now when Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, was come unto David, he fell on his face and did reverence. And David said, Mephibosheth. And he answered, Behold thy servant. And David said unto him, Fear not, for I will shew thee kindness for Jonathan thy father's son, and will restore thee all the land of Saul thy father, and thou shalt eat bread at my table continually. And he bowed himself and said, What is thy servant, that thou shouldest look upon such a dead dog as I am? What do we see here? First, we see the participation of servants. The participation of servants. David did not go and fetch Mephibosheth himself. The Bible says in verse number 5, the king, then King David sent. So he sent servants. He sent Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. I do not know if they were the ones, but these servants went and fetched Mephibosheth from Lodebar and brought him to Jerusalem. You know, there is, again, we are talking about David here, not necessarily the servants. I have learned this. When there is a need, I mentioned this last Friday, when there is a need, a grace-controlled Christian will do what he can to meet that need. Kung meron isang need, kung meron isang nangangailangan, at malaman ng isang Kristiyano that is controlled by the grace of God, that is blessed by the grace of God, that person will do what he can to meet that need. So this is a good test actually for us. If you are really grace-controlled or not. Is the grace of God in control of your life? Because if you are grace-controlled, you will do what you can to meet those needs. Yan ang makita natin dito sa ginawa ni David. Every week we learn of different needs. My wife just showed me a message that she received from our niece. And JD has a cousin, the daughter of my younger sister. She's a doctor. She's a surgeon in Tago. And one of her patients, I don't know exactly, I'm not spoken to her yet, she just sent a message and a picture. And she greeted us and said, one of the patients was my classmate in high school. Pito kaming magkabarkada nung when we were in high school. Paul Ederlin and Jonathan Armado, he's dead now. And Yolando Aquino is one of them. Joey Pagarigan and Daniel Napilan, myself and this guy, Rufino. And he showed me a picture. He was in that hospital. And Cindy, yung aming pamangkin, said, I think meron siyang cancer and he needs to undergo surgery tomorrow. Now, why would the Lord allow me to know that need? Hindi kaya may ibig sabihin ng Panginoon na you have a friend back in, when you were in high school that is in need? See? And I just told you about several needs in our church. People that we know who are going through times of need. So, nakikita natin dito yung puso ni David. He wanted to share the kindness of God. 3 times he said that I may show him kindness. In verse number 7 he said, for I will show thee kindness. But in verse number 3 he said that I may show thee, that I may show the kindness of God unto him. Hindi lang yung kindness ni David ang nais niyang ibahagi kay Mephibosheth, but the kindness of God. Let there be not only the participation of the servants, but the promise of the king. The promise of the king. If you were Mephibosheth and you learn that David, the servants are here to fetch you and bring you to Jerusalem, how would you feel? How would you feel? Would you be excited or will you be afraid? Saul was his lolo. Guka. You know Guka? Grandfather. Saul was his Guka. And Saul wanted to kill David. And Jonathan was his father. Jonathan was the father of Mephibosheth. So if Mephibosheth listened to Saul, his grandfather, he would be terrified. But if he listened to his father, then he would be excited. But he came to Jerusalem, you know. And as soon as he arrived in Jerusalem, look at this. In verse number 6. The Bible tells us here, now when Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, was come unto David, he fell on his face and did reverence. What is the first thing that David said? And David said, Mephibosheth. Hindi, yung pangalan niya, Mephibosheth. Hindi ba kapag tinawag tayo sa pangalan natin, basta yung pangalan mo, huwag kiday, huwag ganun. Okay. Yung tinawag sa pangalan mo, hindi ba maganda sa tenga mo yun? Even if your name is Procopio, or whatever, you know, when somebody calls you by the name, remember, this is the king. Renerio. David said, Renerio. This is the king. This is the king of Israel, and here is Mephibosheth. He was lame, he was being carried. And David looks at Mephibosheth and said, Mephibosheth, probably with a smile in his face. Oh, what a joy. And then ano sabi niya? And he answered, behold thy servant. And David said unto him, he said, fear not. Fear not. For I will surely shew thee kindness for Jonathan my father's sake. And I will restore thee all the land of thy father. Instant millionaire. And thou shalt eat bread at my table continually. Wow. It was too good to be true. He cannot believe his ears. Verse number 8. He was in the house of that guy, Machir, I don't know how you would pronounce his name. I do not know how he was being treated in that place. But now he is in the palace of the king. And he hears these things. And he bowed himself and said, what is thy servant that thou shouldest look upon such a dead dog as I am? He is saying, King, I am not worthy of these things. You know, that is grace, di ba? Unmerited favor. Para tayo si Mephibosheth, we are sinners in the sight of God. We are bound for the lake of fire. You know, but God has been gracious to us. God has been gracious to us. Like Mephibosheth, we can identify with him. We are like dead dogs. You know, that is the grace of God. And David is sharing that grace, that kindness to Mephibosheth. You know why? Because David himself had experienced the kindness of God. Si David din eh. Na-experience niya rin yung grace ng Panginoon, yung kindness ng Panginoon. Do you know who David was? When he was a small boy, what was his job? He was a shepherd. Way up there in the windy, you know, nagpapakain lang ng mga karnero. Laruan niya is, tirador, palsiit, tinuan. Pag may nakitang mga niyan, tinitirador niya. Ganun lang ang laro niya. Never in his wildest imagination did he thought that one day he would be king. Alaga niya mga karnero lang. But you know, God made him king. God gave him the kingdom. God gave him so much wealth. God gave him so much riches. And David realized this is the kindness of God in his life. He experienced the kindness of God to a great degree. And now he is sharing that kindness. Sana ganun din tayo. Tayo na naka-experience ng biyaya ng Panginoon, i-share naman natin yung grace na yan sa iba. Let's share that grace to others. If you experience the great grace of God, you owe it to the Lord to share that grace to others. Yan ang purpose ng Panginoon. He wants to use you as a channel. He wants to use you as a blessing. Daluyan ng kindness ng Panginoon. Daluyan ng grace ng Panginoon. Daluyan ng biyaya ng Panginoon. You're a channel from to whom the grace of God, the kindness of God, the blessings of God should flow. So we see the finding of Mephibosheth. Now we see the fencing of Mephibosheth, and thirdly, the last is the feeding of Mephibosheth. This is not just one time. We are talking about provision here. Beginning with verse 9, down to verse number 13, then the king called Ziba. Tinawag ni king si Ziba. You know who this Ziba is? He is the servant in David's kingdom, but you know what? This is a very deceptive person. And he is also a liar. Pero servant ni David ito. Do you remember later on, dun sa pagdating sa chapter 19, when David was forced to leave Jerusalem because of the rebellion of Absalom? You remember the story? And so, David was leaving and Ziba came. Remember, ang master niya, we will learn later on that is Mephibosheth. Okay? And then David said, what about Mephibosheth? What did he say? What is your master? He said, i-paraphrase naman niya, he decides to stay because now he knows you will be expelled, there will be another king, so he chose to be with another king. But he lied. Ang sinabi niya kay Mephibosheth, sakit lang, ayusin ko lang yung kabayo ng sasakyan, magbabalikan kita. Pero he left. And so David was forced to leave Jerusalem thinking that Mephibosheth was ungrateful. And the time came na bumalik na si David. And now he is facing Ziba. Now he faced Mephibosheth. Sabi niya, kung sa ilong mo, pakinsoknaan ka si Mephibosheth. Ba't hindi ka man lang napakita nung paalis ako? And now, Mephibosheth told David what really happened. He was a deceitful guy. But we see here in verse 9, then the king called Ziba, Saul's servant, and said to him, I have given unto thy master's son all that pertained to Saul and to all his house. Thou therefore and thy sons and thy servants shall till the land for him, and thou shalt bring in the fruits, that thy master's son may have food to eat. But Mephibosheth, thy master's son, shall eat bread always at my table. Now Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. And Ziba said unto the king, according to all that my lord the king had commanded his servant, so shall thy servant do. As for Mephibosheth, said the king, he shall eat at my table as one of the king's sons. And Mephibosheth had a young son, whose name was Micah, and all that dwelt in the house of Ziba were servants to Mephibosheth. So Mephibosheth dwelt in Jerusalem, for he did eat continually at the king's table, and was laid on both his feet. What do we say? The privilege of a family. The privilege of a family. Ano sabi niya rito? Mephibosheth shall eat bread. Ilang beses pinanggit yan, I think 3 times, in verse number 7, and then you see that also in verse number 10, and you also see that in verse number 11. 3 times. Mephibosheth shall eat bread always at the king's table as one of his sons. Pwede naman sana nagpatayo lang si David ng bahay kubo dun sa tabi. And every time na breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and snacks, magpapahatid lang sa servants doon sa kay Mephibosheth. But that's not what the king did. Pinakain si Mephibosheth in his table always as one of the king's son. See? He had the privilege of a family. You know, sharing kindness involves planning carefully and sometimes even paying the cost. Hindi naman ito basta David knew what he was going to do. Pinag-isipan niya yung gagawin niya. Pinag-isipan niya yung gagawin niya. You know, that's why many people do not care because they know it is costly. Do you remember the story of the Good Samaritan? Yung priest duman lang, yung Levite duman lang, but what did the Good Samaritan do? It took some time. He had a schedule that day, but he was willing to be disturbed with his schedule. Pinuspon niya yung ibang gagawin niya, and he took care of that servant. He poured his oil, and he put him in his dish, and then he took him to an inn, and he paid the bill, and he said, just take care of him. Kung may babayaran pa, babalikan ko and I will pay you. You know, sharing kindness could be costly. When the Lord Jesus Christ shared His kindness to us, was it free? It cost Him His blood. It cost Him His life. That is the price He had to pay. That's why if we are going to share the kindness of God, dapat talaga, you should be conscious. There must be conscious planning. This is the money that God has given me. This is the money that God is giving me every single month. Okay? I will set aside some of this to show God's kindness to others. It could include paying a cost. As I've told you during prayer meeting, somebody's in trouble in Doha right now. He's one of our guys in the church. 3,000 pesos must be paid for him to get out of jail. Okay. Ayon's wife has, 8 chemotherapies. First 4 therapies, 7,000 pesos each. The second 4 chemotherapies, 35,000, because his wife is stage 3 cancer now. Brother George is in Ghana right now, detained. They have to raise 4,000 reals. The family was able to raise 2,500. Another 1,500 must be sent to help them. But if Brother Mario, the old guy who was saved in Alcoa, is in the Philippines right now, abandoned by all his children and his wives, also needs help. Missionaries who are all over the world, Filipino missionaries, they need to be supported. They need to experience kindness. I'm telling you, it's costly. And if we are going to show, if we are going to be gracious, if we are going to show the Lord's kindness, it is costly. Pero yun yung privilege ni Mephibosheth dito. And let that be, the last word in your note is the promotion by a friend. The promotion by a friend. King David made Mephibosheth the master of Ziba's household. Maliban sa binigay sa kanya yung lahat ng lupain ni Saul, he gave him all the land of Saul. Malaking bagay na yan eh. Oh, may lupain ka na dyan, may mga servants ka na dyan. Bahala ka na dyan sa buhay mo, okay ka na siguro dyan. Pero hindi. He gave him all the land, he gave him servants, he ordered those servants, make sure you till the ground, make sure you bring the food. And then he said, Ziba, from now on, I am no longer your master. You, your 15 sons, your 20 servants, all of your household, your master will be Mephibosheth. What a promotion. What a promotion. Hindi naman hiningi ni Mephibosheth ito eh. Knowing Mephibosheth, nahihiya nga siguro eh. Nahihiya nga siya siguro kay Ziba. Matagal na si Ziba sa kaharian ni David. Siya pa yung sinundo. Ngayon siya pa yung bossing ni Ziba at kanyang household. Did you know? This is the key. Demonstrating kindness and grace to somebody who didn't deserve it. The Lord blesses us with grace so that we can be a blessing of grace to others. Yan ang makikita natin pag binasa mo sa may 2 Corinthians chapter 8 verse number 1. We do you to wit of the grace of God bestowed on the churches of Macedonia. The grace of God was bestowed upon the churches of Macedonia. Binigay ng Panginoon yung kanyang grace doon sa mga nanampalataya ng Macedonia. And now the saints, because the grace of God was bestowed upon them, now they are helping the churches. Now they are helping all men. They became a channel of blessing, the blessing of grace. We find also the truth in Acts chapter 4 and verse number 33 when the Bible says, and great grace was upon them all. Anong ginawa nila? They sold their houses, they sold their possessions, and gave the money to the church. I'm not saying you do that. But how can they do those things? It's so hard to do those things. But you see, they had been blessed by the grace of God, and what they are doing is sharing that grace that they have experienced. We all have experienced the loving kindness and loving favor, the grace of God. He wants us to share that grace and kindness to others. The Bible tells us in 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 10, as every man had received the gift. Bawat isa sa atin, every man had received the gift. Natanggap natin yung biyaya na yan. It's a gift. Remember, even so, minister the same. Kung ano yun ang tanggap mo na biyaya, and that is the blessing of grace, you minister the same. Ano ibig sabihin? You share the grace that God has given you to one to another. Anong sabi ng verse? As good stewards of the what? Of the manifold grace of God. Ganun pala yung grace. Steward pala tayo hindi lang sa pera. Steward tayo hindi lang pala sa time. We are stewards not only of finances, not only of money, we are also stewards of the manifold. That means the bountiful, the sufficient grace of God. Pinagkatiwala lang pala yung grace na yan. So dapat yung grace na yan should be used. And it will be used to demonstrate, to share kindness to others. It's hard to share kindness without the grace of God. What a beautiful story. It's a story that reminds us we need to experience God's great grace so that we will be gracious. I hope that we will remember this message. Simple message. My Lord, we thank you for what you taught us this evening about a man who was nothing but experienced your great grace and became a king, the man after God in your own heart. And we see this man sharing your kindness to others who do not deserve it. Help us, Lord, to be like him. More than that, help us, Lord, to be like you. We ask and pray this in Jesus' name. Every head bowed, every eye closed, we will not have the invitation. Just a simple response from God's people. Will you be ready to show kindness to others? You have to count the cost.
You have to find, you have to fence, you have to feed. That alone requires planning. That alone would mean it will cost you something. You are surrounded by Mephibosheths. In your family, relatives, your friends, in your workplace, there are plenty of Mephibosheths there. People who do not deserve your kindness. Katulad mo rin na you do not deserve the kindness of God. But because you receive a kindness you did not deserve, now you are willing to share a kindness that others may not deserve.